A very frequent inquiry for an investigator is how you can use a GPS tracking device to keep tabs on a subject of an investigation, whether you're tracking a scammer, a fraudster, a relationship partner. Using mobile tracking devices or GPS trackers is a common question, and the laws regarding these vary by state, but there's some good information on when this can be done. This is a government think tank group that talks about when private citizens can use tracking devices. Some states have a broad blanket prohibition of use of electronic tracking devices, not just on vehicles, but even on a person's private backpacks, clothing, even using other electronic means to track a person. There's exceptions. For example, there's states that prohibit installing a location tracking device on a motor vehicle. Texas is one of them. However, one of the exceptions is by private investigators in Texas. So based on the state and based on what the scenario is, there may be ways to track somebody with a GPS without having to do surveillance. Employers, in most cases, can use tracking devices on their own vehicles. If it's a vehicle that the employer owns and it's a fleet vehicle, you can track it. Some states require that you notify the employee that's using it, and some states also prohibit any electronic monitoring by employers by any means other than direct observation. It means you can't use a computer, telephone, radio, camera, anything. So even if you had employees on a job site and you had a drone that was flying over it, or a surveillance camera, that might be illegal in Connecticut. Again, before you take any action, either using or not using this, and you want to get good legal advice, contact a qualified attorney to make sure you understand your scenario. What about stalking? Well, if you're a private person and you use GPS to stalk or harm a person, certain states have rules against that. Well, the definition of harming a person could be subjective. If the harm is that you get a better lawsuit judgment against them, that might be considered harm. So you want to get good legal advice on that. Other types of laws have to do with things that are not necessarily black and white. So what happens if you place a GPS of your spouse's car, right? In New Jersey, they were found not guilty since the husband traveled on public roads that could have been seen anyways, right? So the GPS was just doing something you could do another way, and that's what got them off the hook. So GPS devices have a use. Tracking devices can be employed by private investigators to get information about the location and travel habits of a person, but it has to be done the right way, and you got to make sure it conforms to the laws of that state and also the circumstances of that particular case.